All right, today we're diving into something that sounds like it was ripped straight from a sci-fi novel, but it's not. It's an actual, incredibly detailed engineering proposal. And the goal? Oh, just to create a planetary consciousness, linking all of humanity together. We're talking about the blueprint for something called Project Eywa. So let's just kick things off with a huge question. What if the walls between our minds, between your mind and my mind, could just dissolve? And I'm not talking about some clunky helmet or a risky brain implant. No, we're talking about a living biological partner inside us. That right there is the core idea behind this whole thing. So, what exactly is Project Eywa? Well, at its heart, it's a proposal, a plan to engineer a special kind of symbiotic fungus, one that would live inside our own nervous systems and, well, connect all of us. I know, it sounds absolutely wild, but the plan is shockingly detailed, so let's break down how they think they could actually pull this off. Okay, first things first. Before you can even think about connecting all of humanity, you need the thing that's going to do the connecting, right? You need the perfect partner. And this isn't something you can just go out and find in nature. Nope, you've got to build it, literally from the ground up. And that brings us to a really fundamental choice. I mean, think about it. Of all the organisms on this entire planet, why a fungus? Why not bacteria or a virus or something else? Well, as it turns out, the project makes a pretty compelling case that fungi are uniquely, almost perfectly, suited for this job. You see, fungi have some amazing natural advantages. For starters, their whole structure, those root-like mycelial threads, is already a living network. They're incredibly resilient. They can survive on almost nothing. Plus, our bodies are already familiar with certain fungi. We've got some living in us right now. They're also masters at penetrating tissue. And, this is the big one, they have this massive chemical toolkit. They produce a huge range of compounds, and some of them can already interact with our neurons. It's like they're practically pre-built for this. But here's the catch. No single fungus in nature has all the traits we need. So the project proposes something called synthetic symbiogenesis. And the best way to think about this, it's like building with biological Legos. Seriously, you take the gene for neural control from, say, the famous zombie ant fungus. Then you'd snap that together with the immune cloaking ability from a fungus that lives harmlessly in our gut. And then maybe you'd add the piece that lets it cross into the brain from another specialist. You literally assemble the perfect partner, piece by piece. Okay, so let's say you've done it. You've engineered this perfect organism. Awesome. But that's really only half the battle, maybe not even. Now you have to teach it to speak the brain's language. And this is all about creating that crucial neural interface. The proposal actually outlines two main ways to get this done. The first is called chemical mimicry. Basically, the fungus releases chemicals that our neurons already recognize. It works, but it's kind of slow. Think of it like influencing a mood rather than having a crisp conversation. Then you've got the holy grail, a direct electrical interface. This would be way faster, way more precise, almost like operating at the speed of thought. The only problem? It's a much, much bigger engineering challenge. So what's the strategy? Well, it's pretty smart, actually. You play the long game. You don't try to solve the hardest problem right out of the gate. The plan is to start with what's achievable right now. That's the chemical communication. Get that working first. Then you use that as a stepping stone, a foundation to build on, to eventually develop that super fast electrical interface down the road. Right. But even if you have a fungus that can talk to the brain, there's another giant hurdle. It has to get to the brain. It needs to become a part of us. And to do that, it has to survive a brutal journey past our body's hypervigilant security system, our immune system, which is designed to destroy anything like this on sight. And that brings us to the big boss battle of immunology, the blood-brain barrier. Think of it as the ultimate firewall for your brain. It's this super selective membrane that protects our central nervous system from pretty much everything nasty. So yeah, figuring out how to get our little fungal partner past that is a huge problem. And the solution the project proposes, well, it's both brilliant and honestly a little unsettling. The thinking is, why waste all that energy trying to break down the wall when you can just get inside before the wall is even built? The strategy is to introduce the symbiont to a human host while they're still in the womb, before that blood-brain barrier has had a chance to fully form. Turns out, this early introduction is also the key to solving that whole immune system problem. The strategy here has three parts. First, molecular mimicry. The fungus basically wears a disguise to make it look like a regular human cell. Sneaky, right? Second, active suppression. It actually releases compounds that tell the local immune cells, hey, calm down, I'm friendly. And third, and this is the most important part, early introduction. By being there from the very beginning, the host's immune system literally grows up seeing it and learns to recognize it as self, not an invader. So let's just imagine for a second that all those core biological problems are solved. The project then zooms way, way out, from the individual lab to the entire planet. Because, let's be real, creating this for just one person was never the goal. The vision here is global. So, how in the world do you roll this out to billions of people? Well, for a network like this to truly last, to become a permanent fixture, it can't be something you get like an implant. It has to be inherited. The goal is what's called vertical transmission. That means the symbiont gets passed down from parent to child, generation after generation, becoming a fundamental part of our biology, kind of like the mitochondria that power every single one of our cells. And when you look at the timeline for this, you really get a sense of the sheer scale of the ambition. I mean, this isn't a 5-year plan. We're talking about a 100-plus-year vision. It starts with a decade of lab development, then moves into clinical trials. After that, you're looking at decades of voluntary adoption as people start to see the benefits. And then, slowly, you reach ubiquity and finally, full planet-wide integration. This isn't just a project. It's a roadmap to intentionally evolve our entire species. And here's the thing, you can't force something like this on people. The project's success completely hinges on making the symbiont, well, desirable. It has to offer real, tangible advantages. Things like a better memory, maybe improved health, and of course, the main event, access to the network. Ultimately, the idea is that adoption will be driven by a simple, incredibly powerful incentive. It'll give you a clear evolutionary edge. And all of this brings us to one final massive question. We've just walked through a potential blueprint for literally rewiring our species. So if this were real, if it was proven to be safe and it actually worked, and it offered you a direct connection to a collective human consciousness, what would you do? Would you take it? Would you join the network?